do a book about history, you have to be very careful about what history you choose. Especially when you're writing a book for kids, you can't just pick any history you want. I mean, it's not like I can go to Germany and pick Hitler. Okay, that would just be an absolute terrible idea. Even though he's part of history and the horrendous things that he did in history are part of history, you would never use that storyline for a children's book. I mean, that's insane. So there's a lot of instance in history because the history is so dark. A lot of it is cruel. You really have to be careful about what kind of history you pick for your children's book. You're really left with limited stuff, to be honest, which is kind of sad. I mean, you look at, okay, for example, I put in French history. You know, you look at French history, a lot of it's war and people fighting, and okay, you know, but what are they fighting about? Is it something that I can use? Is it something that I can make a PG version? You know, something that's not going to be over the top and cause controversy, especially for the mothers that I'm trying to get to read this book. I have to be careful. If I make a mistake and pick something that pisses a lot of people off, then I didn't do my job right. There is Marie Antoinette, but again, that's a pretty dark story. The girl got her head chopped off, so I don't even know if I can use that. And the other thing is Roscoe's a boy. I can't use that storyline. A lot of this is war. I mean, I'm not going to have any problems coming up with POIs for the war series. Now, the only downside on my end is normally I would just ask y'all to throw some history at me. To be honest, I was never the best at history. Which is hilarious that I wrote a book that has to do with history, but whatever. You know, normally I would just ask, you know, is there any other history in France that doesn't have to do with war, doesn't have to do with Napoleon, doesn't have to do with Marie Antoinette, and doesn't have to do with the French Revolution? What else we got? Problem is by the time you see this, it is going to be several months from now. That's how far back I am behind on getting these videos out. I made a mistake when I was putting these videos out by doing them every other day because I really didn't like the idea of flooding my content out there. But because I make so many videos during the day or every day, this one video is going to produce several parts. And each part is one a day. So even doing the one a day is still putting me way behind. So it's not like I can ask for advice on it because I'll probably be way past and done with France by the time you ever see France. You know, the other thing too is I want my book to be world renowned. You know, I want the world to read Roscoe's World. I cannot screw this up. I don't want to piss off a bunch of French people because I picked the wrong stuff. Oh, I forgot about that. I could go with the Statue of Liberty.